Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Corporate services and from the various sectors, and fire is a very ignored subject. जो भी होगा वो नेबर को होगा या नेबर के बिल्डिंग में होगा, मेरे पास कुछ नहीं होगा. So that is the attitude, that चलता attitude is so strong कि आप जहाँ पे काम कर रहे हो, जहाँ पे रह रहे हो, वहाँ का सिस्टम्स कैसा है, क्या है, nobody bothers about. लाल पाइप दिखता है, वो कैसे दिखे नहीं, इसको इनक्लोज करो. स्प्रिंकलर्स है तो उसका वॉल बंद करके रखो, पानी चालू हो जाएगा. So these are the comments what we observe. So I just wanted to give you the background of fire services. As far as India is concerned, the subject of fire services is the state subject, and central government has only advisory role in the fire services. Ministry of Home Affairs is a nodal agency, and the Directorate of Civil Defense, Home Guard and Fire Services is the in charge of IPS officer handling the fire and emergency services. And under him, one fire advisor to the government of India is small post and deputy fire advisor. That is the one common set is there. So they have formulated a model fire law, what we call as a Fire Act, and that has been circulated to the various states for implementation. And various acts are there as far as state governments are concerned, but major focus is the operational side, and the second part is the implementation of fire prevention and protection. So as far as fire prevention and protection is concerned, the National Building Code of India, Part 4, is a guiding document wherein Part 4 specifically speaks about fire and life safety part of it. So it is all buildings they have classified right from the residential, educational, institutional, industrial, storages, everything is classified, and depending upon the potential fire risk, what minimum fire protection requirement should be provided to that particular occupancy has been specified. Unfortunately, fire services do not have that much capable fire officers who can have the real knowledge about the potential risk. So if you take example of Mumbai, Pune or metros or Delhi, Bangalore, you will find few officers, but if you go to the lower level metros and mini metros, literally there are no handful of officers which can understand the potential risk of the occupancy and really guide the entrepreneur or the industrialist or whosoever is there what minimum requirement is for the building. So that is a major gray area. So that awareness is required at both the sides, as a regulator side also and at the user side also. So we have to make sustainability, as you told, is very important nowadays. Every brand is ensuring that there should not be any, means I have heard about that Petronas Tower is the one of the good example, wherein the first day the chief executive officer of that building takes the review of fire and security first, and then he starts his other businesses. So that kind of a culture is there in some organization. So we have to build such kind of a culture in our organization. We spend lot of money on interior decorators or for food, but we don't keep one small fire extinguisher in our home, and we don't know how to use it in case of emergency. How the risk is there for the PNG or the LPG gas or the electrical short circuit is happening, how to react to it. So these are the small things, do's and don'ts one should be aware about. And if we inculcate the culture in our workplaces and in home, definitely we can change this culture. When we visit developed worlds, we abide all the rules, regulations, but when we come back to India, chalta hai. Helmets only on signals we will wear. So such kind of things are very hazardous in case of emergency. ये जो भी होगा वो इतने फास्ट होगा कि within 5 minutes you will be nowhere. So as a business heads or as a high level management level, it is my humble request to you that you should ensure that whatever the systems are there in place in your workplaces or wherever you are staying, that should be in working condition. As far as the Maharashtra Fire Prevention and Life Safety Measures Act is concerned, we have gap of fire services up to 80% in terms of number of fire stations, number of fire appliances and the trained manpower. So those central government is funding or state government is funding, providing funding for the establishment of fire services, fire engines and procurement of fire engines. But that gap is so huge, it will take its own time to bridge this gap. So only option is we have to make awareness and ensure that whatever the buildings are coming up or businesses are coming up, that should have the sufficient fire safety arrangement, and the people should know what to do in case of emergency, how to react to the any fire emergency. In Japan, for earthquake, senior or junior KG students also, they have teaching them how to react to this kind of emergency or earthquake emergencies. But in our, till we joined NCC or NSS kind of a thing, nobody teaches how to react to the fire, or defense forces. Everywhere you know how to react with the fire because you deal with the animation and all that. So considering all these social issues, as far as Maharashtra Fire Act is concerned, we have extended our arm and we have appointed 800 odd fire safety agencies as an integrator. They can do the installation work for the industry, in the industry or in the residential, whatever type of occupancies. And they should submit the Form A at the time of the OC of the building, occupancy of the building, before granting final fire NOC. The inspection is carried out and checks are done by the fire authorities. And after that, it is expected that the annual maintenance contract should be given to such license agencies, and they should carry out the maintenance of each and every system. There may be hydrants, sprinklers, smoke detection system, fire pumps, and they should certify in the month of January and July every year, stating that these systems are in good working condition, so that in real emergency the system will work and the response mechanism will be very small, and this will help us for saving precious human life and property. So that is the intent of the act. But unfortunately, we are observing that some license agencies, they are giving Form A and Form B sitting in the air conditioned offices without actual carrying out the checking and installation. And unfortunately, it will lead to the disasters. So we have both type of people, how to check and balance things. We have the mechanism of surprise visit, giving 3 hours notice, we can inspect any premises. But that means will create again a hue and cry for the entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, it is a hindrance for them. Some audits are planned. Everywhere for the multinationals, they take approvals for, means somebody is offloading anything from the Europe or American companies, they ensure that you should have the fire NOCs, you should have the occupancy certificate from the local authority. I have visited the SIPS area wherein they check what type of a food or changing areas or even toilets and everything is checked by the third parties, and report has been sent to the principals in Europe and US stating what facilities they have with photographs and everything. So such kind of due diligence is done by the multinationals when they offload some work to Indian companies. So fire safety is one of them, but awareness from the schools, at workplaces and in societies is very much needed to achieve the minimum fire and life safety things. So life is very precious. You cannot negotiate with that. So it is my humble request to you The minimum requirement operational side is concerned as 80% gap. Mumbai is also with 50% gap. They need 55 fire stations. They have 34. The response mechanism, if you take any Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, whatever city, the response time is minimum 15 to 20 minutes, considering the peak hours, traffic and all that. So only option is to have inbuilt system in the building, so that the fire is detected, alarm is generated, and the safely people can evacuate, and whatever the systems are there, sprinklers are there, detections are there, that will come in play and control that fire in that particular compartment. So there are so many good features are there in National Building Code. There are good standards are coming up. Still we are lagging for the standards of warehouses, data centers. That is again challenge area coming up in lot of way in metro and around. So we are developing, we are taking inputs from NFPA, FM Global and UL, big companies. They have their own guidelines, and that will help us to grow. Good standards are there, good consultants are coming up. So I think this type of platform can be utilized, means GACS like a think tank, and they can advise to the government or Bureau of Indian Standard, because you have the global presence and whatever the best practices are there in the world, that can be brought in, and through this forum you can recommend it at national level or the state level. So I would request each and everyone present in this hall that wherever you are working or wherever you are staying, at least give some attention to fire and life safety equipment, and ensure that at least one fire extinguisher should be there in your home, so that handy, so that in case of any emergency you can utilize and make your workplace and home safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And sorry, is there any question? You can please. Can you have a mic, please?
So I agree with you. Potentially it's a, what if say the perception about fire is very poor in our country, and rather not, I will not say, I'll correct my English on that, or perception, the seriousness about this subject.
Yeah, true.
And you rightly said, and you are so much experience here, why can't we have a recommended to a nodal agency that to include the fire as a topic starting from the school, not only in the books, but definitely as a part of a physical activity. They should be exposed to all fire throughout, and one fire, because in India I think so we are lacking, and that's why we are stretched on the qualified personnel in the fire department and the interest of the people joining fire department. If any of the colleges or universities run a separate specialization on fire only, I think so that can create a lot of benefit for as a society, as a country, and the entire ecosystem. That's there. My second point to you, in the National Building Code, you mentioned the version 4, a company like us or whatever, individual, again it depends on individual to individual, leaders to leaders, person to person, how they perceive and how serious they are about it, how passionate they are about the fire, and accordingly the message goes down the line. So that's again, depends on the individual. You can't hold them, to a, but if you make the National Building Code compulsory, which is not, because that's a guidelines of things, and people take advantage of it. That's it. Then my third point, and I came across, not in person, but through that, the license you people give to the agency who are supposed to review, check, certify, and grant approval, half of them themselves are not educated to check the systems online, and few of them is not even aware about the design architecture supposed to be there in the high-rise building, and what the flow of the pump and sump should be there, how to check that. So my request, if you are sitting in all this forum, you're a member of that, if at least 5% improvement also, not 100 or not 95. If we can put forward in all three factors, especially two, and then it will be quite helpful for the industry and for us and for society.
Yes, that is true. Unfortunately, means rightly said, in education system up to 10th level, hardly there is any subject. That should be there, at least electrical safety, gas safeties, and some Google Baba to hai, but still as a curriculum it should be. Unfortunately, in architectural and civil engineering also, this part 4 or NBC provisions are not included and not taught. That is a very grey area. And secondly, all your services, rightly means if you are sitting in this hall, how many people are there, so how much space is required, how much common passages are required. So if you take example of any industry or residential or business or IT parks also, once the occupancy is given, whatever the builders they plan for the minimum ones. So they wanted to keep deposit with the MSEB or electricity supply or transformer, hardware, everything, they wanted to cut the cost. So whatever minimum is required, that only they will provide. So take example of 2 BHK residential flat, they will ensure that only AC is going to be there in 2 bedrooms. That's it, minimum whatever mixer, fridge, that's it. Once the occupancy is taken by any owner, he will put AC in hall, then some additional gadgets will come in kitchen. So that load of entire building will haywire, it increases after 2 or 3 years of the occupancy. But no electrical audit is done whether the load is sufficient or not. Same is with industry. To begin with minimum load, they will go. They will keep on increasing the machines, but they will not take the load. Of electrical loads are there, or safety distances between the storage area, process area, and the finished goods, utilities area. So insurance is major role. So FM Global is a wonderful example wherein they have 1400 industries from the US across the globe. They have come together. They are doing analysis of each and every accident happening in that particular industry, and they are creating their own guidelines. So this is the phenomenal thing what they have done, and they have almost 30 to 35 scientists working day, night for FM Global.
One thing is there, sir. Respect for the human life.
Yes, that is
care for
paramount.
human life.
Yes.
And the moment care and respect comes, your all the points, go down the architecture beautification. Every focus come on the life and health and safety and life safety.
Absolutely. Means what integrators also, as you said, only when like this hotel, if order is given for I want FM and UL listed product only. So only 20-25% will come FM UL, बाकी China से me to stand मार के आया जाए, तो उसका कोई guarantee नहीं whether it will. So these are the practical difficulties. Secondly, whatever IT parks or everything, lift lobbies are there or common passages are there. It is designed for 1 person for the 10 square meter area. But if you take example of BPOs or hardly 0.35.
So true.
So these are the practical difficulties. Yes, Boli.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
I represent a corporate, and you're right, and wanted to assure you on behalf of the corporates that what you said, it is not just the companies which come from abroad, but also the Indians who are equally following the norms and also going beyond it. And because of that, I have a request for you, which while he's already covered. Today it is just an advisory, the NBC Chapter 4 or even the entire NBC. I think at your capacity, while we'll also do it, it'll be good if it becomes mandated, because for us also it's difficult because the rules differ from state to state. So we have to choose one of the strictest one and do that. Second is that it's a request that the safe assembly area as a concept is missing in large places wherever we go and occupy. Maybe at your influence, because I believe you can do much more than us in terms of putting this across that this is somewhere required, typically in the large density areas or large density cities. So that's I think the 2 points which I wanted to.
I agree, fully agree, because Take example of Mumbai itself, the assembly areas for towers, like if you go to the Worli area and all that, few residential buildings you will find, but for big hotels and business buildings, hardly there is any place. So you have to stand on the road. There is no other place. Unfortunately, there are so many compromises done in Mumbai that the marginal spaces, the front roads width, it is not there sufficient enough. They talk about single staircase up to 70 meters as per their DC rules. But unfortunately, external firefighting has got limitations. So you have to make the building safer from inside only. External, it is just an eyewash. As far as National Building Code is concerned, all Fire Act has got a cross-reference, but it is limited only for the Part 4. And secondly, the development control rules of every city or every state, they are also giving cross-references of National Building Codes. So through these two documents, it has been made mandatory. But it is not in toto as such. It is limited to only Part 3, some portion, and Part 4. And Part 4 also, life safety is there, fire prevention is there, fire protection is there. So majority of the fire acts and development control rules, they talk about only table 7 where they specify the minimum requirement. And they are not going beyond that. There is major issue is there is no risk assessment at the initial stage. And what the risk analysis has been done at the time of giving fire approval, and once it is OC is granted, after 2 years it is totally different. So that system is of no use. As you said, the pumping arrangement and everything, that potential fire risk goes haywire. And really in emergencies, that sprinkler K factor will work or not, it is a challenge. These are the practical issues what we face. So fire audits are really challenging job, and it's required a lot of experience. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, can we have mic? Thank you.
Hello. Very good evening, sir. And it's really wonderful to meet you because there was a fire in my building about 7 years back, and we lost 7 members in that fire. And I'm talking about the lake homes. I stay in lake homes. I'm sure many people in Mumbai, you must have read the news there, right? Now, my point is, we know that the fire happens. Nobody can stop it from happening. But as the prevention is concerned, why there are no regular checks from the government side, wherein, like, let's say now there was a fire in my building, so for the first 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, there were so many fire officers were coming, inspecting everything. They inspected the adjoining buildings also, issued the certificates only after the compliances were met. After that, nothing. And in the rainy season, there have been so many fire instances happen, not only in Mumbai, but elsewhere also. But okay, let's talk about Mumbai and Maharashtra. So here also we have been seeing the fires happening in the rainy season. We get to read in the newspapers that there have been so many buildings, those who have been called with the certifications or the compliances to be met. But after that, there's nothing. So why this kind of a attitude from the department, wherein it's not only the loss of property, but there are loss of lives also. Who loses life? Not only the people residing in that building, but people, those who rescue them. People, those who are working as a maid, as a driver, as a servant, even they die in that. So my one simple submission or a question to you, why don't you give some instructions or maybe some advice to the government to do these audits on a regular basis, on a year-on-year basis, because 1 year you do it and next 2-3 years if you don't do it, we are inviting the trouble. So in case if you can just talk about that. Thank you.
The safety culture is required for such type of thing, because regulatory authority, as I told you, we have very handful of officers. For Mumbai, we have only 200 officers and we have 26,000 high-rise buildings. So it is not possible to visit each and every building every year. So there should be some self-certification and third-party involvement is required. But again, what we have observed is some nexus is created. They don't, societies don't want it to give AMCs. जो भी होगा वो देखा जाएगा. So that kind of attitude. For entire city of Mumbai, there are 15 lift inspectors. They have to certify lifts. So if you take minimum 26,000 high-rise buildings, minimum 2 to 3 lifts in every building. So it is next to impossible for them. So whosoever is the supplier is there, he certifies this on that basis that inspector certified. He don't visit it, that building itself. So that is the crux. The regulatory gap is so huge that you have to introduce third party, and as he rightly said, the awareness about the installers. The multinationals coming, they have the particular standards, they will install as per that standard itself. But here you can't say. Some material, when we use specified ISI mark, definitely for the testing and purpose they will show this is ISI mark, but below that what has gone up, you can't see. And fire officers also, if they are coming to your premises for the inspection, they cannot do the entire inspection. In US there is a test authority is separate. They do testing once in a 5 years, they vacate the entire building, they do thorough check of all your sprinklers, hydrants, then detection system for 2-3 days, and then they certify. So test authority means audit authority is different, operational side is different, who is responding to fire and emergency services, and your audit team is different. So they are watertight compartment, they only share the data, but they don't have any control mechanism. In India, the fire officer has to respond to fire and emergency also, he has to do the preventive work also, and he has to do the approval work also. So everything is done by that particular officer. So it is next to impossible to give justice to all. So that is the case.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and how beautifully you have said that it's a biggest misconception that we always think it will never happen to me. And obviously I was also one of the culprits few years back, till the time one of the office in Goregaon, where we had an office, building caught fire, and unfortunately it was Sunday and the equipment worked. But yes, we experienced it and felt that pain. But I would like to acknowledge, sir, that hearing you last time, I actually got my first fire extinguisher from my home, and I like to motivate others, in case you don't have, do go for it. And third thing, sir, our National Building Code session is pending, which obviously will soon, I am just telling you all so that you all be present there. Here, sir, talking about the new version 4 of NBC, which we'll do our knowledge session on, next knowledge session. Thank you so much, sir. And as always, it's a pleasure, and it's my great honor to present this to you, sir. Thank you for your time for GACS. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.